Hello, dears. In today's class, we'll be going to discuss a bit about radio, the radiant world of radio. Radio is a magical invention that has stood the test of time. As you all know, we began the use of radio years back, and still we use this as a medium. And with the advent of digital technology, radio is now accessible to a wider audience than ever before. Now let's see a bit about the beginning and how radio came to an end. The radio broadcasting not to a certain or a fixed end, but rather a decline in the use of radio. So the beginning was from Guglielmo Marconi, who sent the first radio communication signals through the air in 1895, and the first experimental radio broadcasts began in the US in 1910. There was a rise in radio broadcasting in the 1920s. The 1920s ushered in regular radio services in many countries, and in 1930, the Indian Broadcasting Company handed over Bombay station to the government, which was later renamed as the Indian State Broadcasting Service, also known as the ISBS. And while the television rised, or the use of television came into being by the rise of television in the 1950s, this golden age of radio broadcasting came to an end, or rather, it declined. And there are many phases of radio transmission in which you'll have to know two main transmission methods, that is the AM transmission and FM transmission. AM transmission means amplitude modulation, which is one of the two methods of radio transmission, and the other one is frequency modulation, which means FM means frequency modulation, and this is the most popular used radio transmission method that we use today. The other one is community radio. Community radio, you'll learn about that later on. And now let's take a look at the strengths and weaknesses of radio. Strengths are that it has a radio is a highly target selective by station format, and it has relatively low cost and production charges. And it also has excellent local market coverage. Its high credibility among the target location is another strength which we can't avoid. And the portability and personal nature of the use of radio is really commendable while we look at the strengths of the radio. The weaknesses, we see that a lack of visual support is there while we use the radio as a medium, and also a major investment is required to manage a radio station. And because of the same format, the audience is fractionalized and there are passive listeners in radio. Also a high difficulty or a major difficulty in building a large reach for the radio services, because nowadays we know we use more of internet and television as a media. And now the rise of FM broadcast, that is frequency modulation, as we saw earlier, FM frequency modulation, FM broadcasts rise. That is around 70 kilometer of crystal clear reception can be obtained from FM broadcasting, and this was initially introduced in India in 1977 in Chennai, and it gained popularity only in 1992. So it was introduced in 1977, but it became popular only by 1992. So you'll have to keep that in mind. Community radio, as we said earlier that we'll discuss it a bit later. Now you'll have to know about community radio. So what is a community radio? It is for specific geographic communities. That is community radio broadcast content that is popular and relevant to specific audiences who are often overlooked by commercial broadcasters. So this community radio is much more of a commercial aspect in radio. That is, it serves the popular and specific audience. It has a selected audience for community radio, and it is owned and operated by the communities they serve. That is, community radio stations are operated and owned by the communities they serve, and many of these stations are generally non profit and provide a platform for enabling individuals, groups, or communities to share their stories via radio. That is, through radio, these individuals or groups or communities will be able to share their stories. And now, in the present, like with the advantage of technology and all, we can see an internet enabled community radio which can be accessed online, making it easily accessible and available to people outside the range of the station. That is, we necessarily need not be in the range of the station to avail the facilities of this community radio. And now, here is some data about the radio broadcasting in India. That is all India radio stations. There are 197 all India radio stations, in which there are 305 total transmitters, in which 145 are medium wave and 55 short wave, and FM transmitters are 105. And this radio coverage, it includes 97.3 percentage of the population, of the whole population. And as we know, the rural populations make great use of radio as their access to other media is limited. Their access to other media is limited, so the rural population makes much use of this. And now is the most important part, radio in the digital age, the age we are living in now. It has a revolutionized consumption of news and entertainment programs, and distances are no longer a barrier. As we know, distance was a great barrier for communication, and distances are no longer a barrier. And with internet enabled digital technologies, we can listen to radio programs anywhere, anytime. So it is easily accessible right now, and many radio programs accessible on mobile phones and tabs. We can see that our smartphones have built-in apps for radio programs, and it makes it convenient for the listeners to consume radio content anywhere in the world. And the expanded reach and listenership worldwide. Radio programs can now be broadcasted globally through the internet, expanding the audience base. So these are the things you'll have to know while you that is as an introduction of radio technology. So I hope you have understood whatever we have spoken about. So thank you.